Hey there, my name is Tyler, and welcome to PowerPlay. Today we'll be taking a look at Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time, for the PlayStation 2, the Xbox, the GameCube, the PC, and an HD remake, available now on the PlayStation Network. The story follows the prince after he and his father take over Maharaja's kingdom, taking with them an hourglass full of glowing sand and a mythical dagger known as the Dagger of Time. When it's presented to the Sultan of Azad as a gift, the treacherous vizier who helped them take over the Maharaja tricks the prince into unleashing the sands of time by inserting the dagger into the hourglass, unleashing the sands of time throughout the entire palace. The vizier wanted the sands in order to make himself immortal, but the prince escapes with the dagger, and now it's up to him and the Maharaja's daughter, who is also the only character in the entire story with a name, Farah, in order to lock the sands back up into the hourglass and save the day.
No! Stop!
Is it meant to do this? Alicia Sigataha! Give me the dagger.
No.
You have unleashed the sands of time. I can undo what you have done. Give it to me.
Gameplay has the prince using his parkour skills, including, running along walls and climbing and swinging and such, in order to traverse the destroyed palace environment in order to try to find the hourglass again. It also features a lot of combat with sand creatures, which are humans and other animals that have been infected with the sands of time and become demon monstrosity things. And the big gimmick with combat is that you can only kill the humanoid enemies anyway with a stab from the Dagger of Time after you've knocked them to the floor, or with certain other moves. Which honestly can make combat a bit annoying. Because, you're trying to fight a swarm of enemies, and it can get really annoying to try to get into a position where you can actually land that finishing blow on them in order to actually, get them out of your way instead of just knocking them down and stunning them, and then just having them get back up and attack you later. The platforming, however, is rock solid, with some pretty decent controls and a pretty varied move layout, and some very interesting environments to jump about and play around in. The platforming is definitely the strong suit of this game, so if you like platformers, this is definitely the game for you. And of course, the big, I guess you could say, gimmick with this game is that you have the Dagger of Time, and the Dagger of Time has in it charges of sand which let you manipulate time in different ways. The big one being it lets you rewind time up to 10 seconds. This can be done either in platforming or in combat. So, say, you screw up a jump and you fall off a ledge, and you're going to die. Rewind, and you can bring yourself back up to the ledge before you jumped off, and you can rework your jump in a different way. It can also be used in combat if you're a slightly OCD perfectionist like I am, and if you take a bunch of hits that you don't like and you need that health later, you can rewind and get all your health back, and then go about the combat in a different way. Now, of course, there are also different time manipulation techniques, such as slowing down time and stabbing enemies with the dagger in order to freeze them in time and kill them in one finishing blow. And then, of course, you get the big uber attack which freezes all enemies unless you move super fast to kill them really quickly. But honestly, I found a lot of these to not be nearly as useful as rewinding time. I mean, they come in handy in certain situations, to be sure. Honestly, the most useful next to rewinding time would probably be the Mega Freeze, which is the big attack that lets you pretty much kill a bunch of enemies within any given time. Other than that, the other ones are kind of useless. I mean, especially slowing down time. You'd think slowing down time would come in handy, but the Prince doesn't seem to move much faster than everything else, so it kind of defeats the purpose. It just kind of looks cool when you accidentally tap the rewind button instead of holding it in and you just end up going in slow motion, which really seems to be all it's good for.
Had I really seen her? Or had my senses given way under the burden of horrors too great to bear and conjured up a phantom? Either way. The miracle I had experienced by accident in the Maharaja's treasure room, I now discovered that I could trigger at will. By pressing a switch on the dagger's handle, I could turn back time.
At times during gameplay, you'll also have Farah, the Maharaja's daughter, also following you along, and she's pretty useful in helping out platforming puzzles. Her and the Prince have this very nice dynamic. You know, Farah pulls a switch, the Prince has to traverse some traps in order to help Farah move on. You know, you guys help each other move on, and that works really well. During combat, if you're with Farah, she'll try to help you with her bow and arrow, and if she stays out of the way, that's okay for the most part. Although, she does have a tendency of running out into the open and getting herself knocked around really well, and you spend most of the fight trying to keep her alive and taking a pretty bad beating yourself. Now then, as far as story goes, I think it really develops very well, and it doesn't use a lot of cutscenes to tell a story. A lot of the story is told during gameplay, with the Prince and Farah talking to each other, or even the Prince talking to himself, which can lead to some pretty funny dialogue trees at times. And of course it has a bunch of really decent plot twists near the end, which I won't spoil, but I think anybody that plays the game will be fairly well impressed with the story. The sound is all really nice as well, with the traps making menacing sounds, and the sand creatures making menacing roars. And then of course you got other, nice touches like the classic rewind sound effect that the dagger does. Although I did notice in the HD remake for the PlayStation 3 that some of the sound levels are a bit off. Like, sometimes you can barely hear the Prince and Farah's dialogue during gameplay, and some of the traps will only make sounds if you're, like, right up on them. So if you end up getting that version, watch out for that, but otherwise, that is a fantastic version. The music is quite nice, with a very nice Persian feel, but it's got a real rock influence as well. I mean, you can hear the electric guitar in some pieces, obviously, but it's not like this very hardcore, grungy, Godsmack rock that you get in later entries of the franchise, especially Warrior Within. Overall, it's really nice, and it has a very nice vocal theme during the credits as well, called Time... Crap, what is it called? Excuse me for a second. Time Only Knows. Yeah, Time Only Knows. It's really nice. I don't really know who it's by. My apologies for that. But if you play the game and you hear it and you like it, you can look it up. And I quite like it. I think I might actually look it up after this review, in all honesty. And then, of course, we have the graphics. Now, being a last generation game, they are obviously not up to par with today's graphics. But for the time, I think, anyway, they were pretty well done. You know, the Prince's model is very well done and nicely architectured and stuff, and his movements are very fluid when going from his, jumping around to his combat and such. And The HD remake, available for the PlayStation 3, also looks really good as well. You know, it's not much. I mean, if you play something like the God of War collection, that's about what you can expect. You know, just a bit of touched up polygons. I think it's made a bit brighter, because it looks brighter to me than the original version. And overall, it looks really good. And if you have a PlayStation 3 and you want to spend $15 on that version, I would highly recommend it in terms of looks. I mean, it looks really good. So overall, I quite like The Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time. It is an excellent reboot of probably one of the best platforming series that at least I've ever played. The entire series is excellent, but The Sands of Time is probably one of the best. And while there are some problems, like, you know, the combat can be a bit screwy at times and such, it's still a very fun game, and it's not something that's going to make you want to quit. To give it a number out of 10, I would give it an 8. I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. A really fun game. I would highly recommend it to anyone, and it's on pretty much everything. It's on everything from the last generation, the PC, and there's an HD remake available for the PlayStation 3, so I mean, it's out there, so if you want to get it, I would highly recommend it. Well, that's it this time, guys. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to PowerPlayReviews for more reviews of pretty much any entertainment medium you can think of. Later, guys.